software. So we'll be briefly talking about what software development is and what problem solving is, what is full stack development, what are scalable systems, very basic introduction of all of these, because all of this together might be a lot of information in first shot. But yeah, it's good to have some information about these things for you guys if you want to progress as developers in your career. So coming to software development, so most of you guys now come from a different background, right? So some of you are from mechanical background, some of you are from software background, some of you are doing masters as well. So for anyone coming from any background, software development right now is a very important skill. That is because of the first 2 points that are mentioned here. First is the advent of technology, because uh, over the years, right, from the last 60 to 70 years, after the industrial revolution, the next renaissance that happened in human lives was the renaissance of technology and basically software systems. So since then, software development has always progressed, and there have been new technologies coming into the realm. And every technology that was existing has been refined from time to time. So there is always progress, and there is always some important aspect related to software. So yeah, so there is always one or the other thing that is going on with the technology world. And now, right now, if you see, so we do have a large scope of software development, basically for all the software developers that we have right now. So there can be full stack developers, there can be engineers in artificial intelligence, there can be engineers in blockchain, there can be engineers in multiple fields. So technology has not just progressed, but it has grown over years, and now the scope is so huge that software development has become an integral part of every engineer's life, more or less. And that is also because of the power of technology. Because if you guys observe right now, with the situation that we are going through from the last 1 year, if there was no technology, then our lives would have been really, really difficult for us to survive. Because today our payments are online, today the way we are talking now is online. So almost everything that we do is online today, and that is only because of the power of technology. The way technology has changed our lives is something that we all have to be. It's kind of surprising, It's really, because I'm not sure if anyone had this idea that technology would be so powerful in the coming years. But yeah, now that we see, it has turned out to be one. So today you can almost do anything and everything with technology, because you might have some friends or some contacts who are just sitting in their own rooms building some new websites and starting their own software companies. So all of that is because software today is freely available. That is what we'll discuss in the last point when we talk about the open source world. And not just that, but if you go on YouTube, right? So you have Udemy, you have Coursera, you have YouTube. So the content is so much, the community is great. And not only that, but also the the inclination of the engineers these days towards software is much more than any other field. Because these days in the software industry, you see people from everywhere. There can be people coming from biotechnology, medical electronics, instrumentation, electronics, electricals, mechanical. So today when you work in a software firm, you see people coming from various backgrounds. That is because of the impact that technology has had on our lives, especially in India and some countries like the United States, United Kingdom, and these days in Europe as well. So, technology is something that is extremely important these days, and software development is an integral part of this. So, we as software developers, right, when it comes to engineering or software developing, as we say, we always start with why. I'm not sure how many of you have read the book called Start with Why, written by Simon Sinek. So if you haven't, then please read. It's a very interesting book. It's nothing related to software, but yeah, it'll give you a good read. So that is something I think you should do. So other than that, software development is more like problem solving. So in your school days, you might have done some mathematical problems. You might have had some problems in physics that you solved. You might have had some chemical equations in chemistry, and then you derived at a solution. So exactly in the same way, in today's day, software development is nothing but more like solving a given problem in a given set of rules. Now, those rules are defined by something called as design patterns, software architectures, and your programming languages, the technologies that you use, etc. But more or less, software development is nothing but solving problems the software way. And for that, it's very important for you to start with why, the purpose of why you're trying to solve a problem. Because what happens usually is, whenever a problem is given to you, let's say I ask you to code a small a feature. I'll say, I have an array. I want it's an array jumbled with all zeros and ones, and I want you to sort them. What usually people do is people will just get into solving the problem even before thinking of the problem, even before solving the problem in their heads. They'll just start solving the problem without knowing why is it being solved, how should it be solved, what is the purpose of this, and what is the best solution for this, and all of that. So we as college students, we as developers would be at that level where solving a problem for us is important, but nothing more than that. We are not worried about how this problem will progress, what should be the design of the solution, how should this design be scalable, and why exactly is the problem being solved. Because when you start with why for us for solving a problem, it gives you the required context to solve this problem, which is very important in the software world. As a developer, we might not understand this, but as an engineer, we will definitely understand as to why it is important to solve a given problem in a given context, and how that context actually comes when you start with why. So then basically, SDLC is nothing but the software development lifecycle. This is something you guys will keep on hearing as you start working as engineers, as developers. You will keep on hearing this word called software development lifecycle, which actually starts from your design phase to the deployment phase. So you design a solution, then you develop a solution, you test that solution, then you create a benchmark for it, and then you deploy it. So when you say software development, people usually think of just developers, but it's not just about developers. It's about everyone. It's about someone who comes up with a problem, who comes up with a a requirement for the solution, then that person who actually designs the solution, then the one who actually develops it, then the people who actually test your solution, then the people who benchmark it, then the people who actually go and deploy it at your customer end or client end, wherever you want it to be. So software development is usually viewed very developer centric, but honestly speaking, it's a process. It's a process which involves multiple stakeholders, multiple point of contacts, and multiple expertise. So if you want to be a full stack developer, you can't just be say you can't just be a master of one language or one coding language and then say I'm a good developer. Because a full stack developer is someone who understands the stack end to end, from first point till the last point, and not only the stack, but also how this product, once developed in this full stack environment, is going to go and perform at the customer end. So a full stack developer is someone who has a really big picture of the entire development process and not just coding. So apart from that, there is something that you guys should know about life of software engineers as well. I think since you guys have already been working with Ellipsonic right now, you might have had a taste of how a software engineer's life is. But maybe you guys all started working in this work from home phase, but people who actually went to office, when they started working, they actually went to office and had to deal with day-to-day chores of a software engineering life would actually know this. That first thing that we all have to be grateful is that no matter what happens to the world right now, it may be a pandemic or it may be any other situation, you can see a lot of other industries that have been affected to a grave extent. But when it comes to software industry, we have not been affected at not much. At least for a few firms, it's next to nothing, because we are still doing our work, we are still being paid, we still have our projects in place, so everything is working fine. So one thing for software engineer is that not only the work-life balance, right? So for every software engineer, it's important for you to have a proper work-life balance, because it's very important for you to have a calm mind, a very composed mind when you start your work. Because as I told you, software development is nothing but a problem-solving process, and it's very important for you to be mentally and physically fit in order to perform well in whatever task you're assigned. So life of a software engineer, the way you live your life, the way you create a balance between your work and life is very important, which I think every software engineer should be concerned about, and not just working as such. Then the open, so yeah, so that's where we were. So yeah, and then the open source world. So usually what happens is when I speak of life of software engineers, you see a lot of software engineers chasing money these days, because of course money is important to all of us. We all have our own dreams. But other than that, as software engineers, it is important for us to contribute to the open source world, because you guys might be using, say you are using some software that has been developed by Apache project, or maybe you're using Eclipse for your coding, or you might be using VS Code, any editor for that matter, any streaming service, or any maybe an npm module that you're using. So most of the things that we use today coming from the open source world. So it's important for us to contribute back to the community, to the open source world, because that's how we grow as a cult, as a cult of software developers, as a cult of technology enthusiasts, because it's not just us, but it's also for the generations that is going to. So I'm not sure how many of you are aware of a lot of open source softwares, how many of you are involved in open source projects. But in my opinion, that is very important. And I believe that almost every software engineer must be involved in one or the other way, so that we create a symbiotic relationship in the technology world. So yeah, I mean, I just want this session to be kind of interactive. So if you guys want to point out anything, if you want to add something, if you have a different opinion on anything, please feel free to pitch in. So yeah, let's take it in a discussion format. That would be better.
Yeah, Vishal, I just had a comment. Means you
Sure.
mentioned
Yeah.
a very good point about the open source.
Yeah.
But means just to give developers an idea, can you
Sure.
mention maybe a couple of open source projects that beginners can actually contribute?
Yeah. So there are, okay, one of the open source projects that I would suggest is Anuvad itself, because since I am working in Anuvad is one of the so basically, okay, there are two types of open source projects. One open source project which has a global visibility. It can be Apache Kafka, which is used almost everywhere. Java, if you want to contribute, if you want to contribute to Python, I mean, I don't know if you're a Python developer, but Python has its own pip, right? So where you can actually host your packages. So you can probably just write a package and host and make it available for all the developers to use all across the world. Same goes with npm packages. If you want to do, you can just write an npm package and host it so that developers across the world can use it. So there is one set of open source projects which has global visibility. Then there is another set of open source projects which is being used very intensively in India itself. So India has its own ecosystem of software products, and say Anuvad, eGov, Diksha, Vakyans, and so many, AI for Bharat. So there are a lot of products. Say for example UPI, National Health Stack. So all of these are very important open source projects which are currently running in India, which is being contributed by developers all across the world, but it is very Indian centric. So these are a few projects which you can contribute to. Anuvad is a very simple project. So if you want to contribute, you can contribute to the engineering side of it, or the data analytics side of it, or the machine learning side of it, depending upon your requirement. Then there is another project called eGov, that is nothing but, so eGov Foundation has multiple microservices. So some for municipal services, some are called core services, and some are called some other. So basically it's a list of, it's a plethora of services where you can actually contribute to. It can be property tax, trade license, PGR, you can do whatever you want. So, and other than that, there is Diksha, then there is Vakyans. So you can actually Google these projects which are open source and you can contribute to. But if you want to contribute to projects which are global level, then I would say Kafka, because I have been contributing to Kafka from the last 2 years now. So you can contribute to Kafka. And now, what is Kafka? How does it work? That's a topic in itself altogether. You can probably Google about it and you'll understand what streaming services are, what messaging queues are, and you'll get an idea of what it is. So yeah, that is one of the project that you can contribute to. Other than that, so this is one way of contributing in terms of technology. And there are other open source projects. Say for example, you can actually go and donate to Apache. Apache comes up with a lot of open source projects in itself. So if you don't want to contribute in the tech way, you can at least go donate some money to them, and even that can count as one type of contribution if you want. So yeah, so that is what you can do. But other than that, if anyone else has any open source projects in mind which you think you have to contribute to, then yeah, you can put it up.
Yeah. And also, just to add what Vishal just said, it's not just developers who will contribute to the open source world, you can also test these products and debug some of the problems that they have and give insights. It's not just coding alone that contributes to these projects.
Yep, exactly. Like how Mahesh sir mentioned, one such example would be Kafka itself. So I'm not going much deep into it, but there was a problem in Kafka, and one of the contributors did not actually code the solution for it, but they actually found out that there is a bug, and they kind of told that how can it be solved. They just gave an idea as to how this problem could be solved, and the developers of Kafka solved it. But that still counts as an open source contribution because you actually pointed out that there is a bug and you actually gave a design for that solution.